Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, respected Shri Shiv Raman Gaurji, Director, Higher Education, DAV CMC, New Delhi, Chief Guest for today's webinar. Dr. Ranjana Agarwal, Director, CSIR, National Institute of Science, Technology and Development Studies, keynote speaker of today's webinar. Respected Principal Madam, Dr. Savita Bhagat, patron of today's webinar, convener Dr. Ruchi Malhotra, and all the wonderful people who have joined us today for National Webinar on Women Empowerment and Gender Sensitivity, Need and Issues. DAV Centenary College, Faridabad was established in 1985 under DAV College Managing Committee, New Delhi, the renowned international charitable organization, to mark the 100th year of the phenomenal service rendered by it in the field of education. Into the third decade of its existence, the college can proudly look back at the string of impressive achievements it has to its credit. Our college is performing extraordinary in all the fields, whether it is academics, sports, EMA, NCC, NSS, etc. We have been graded A grade by NAC, which is a big achievement for DAV Centenary College, Faridabad. Dr. Savita Bhagat, our officiating principal, is a personality who is goal-driven, ambitious, focused approach, a kind heart with a wise and thoughtful mind. She is considerate, supportive, and encouraging in her words. Since the day Dr. Savita Bhagat ma'am has joined as our officiating principal, our college is achieving new heights. We are growing academically through faculty development programs, through webinars, ICT tools training, etc. Not only academics, spiritual and yoga sessions have also been conducted for the well-being of staff and students. She has always given the first priority in shaping the conditions for faculty and students to learn. Now, not taking much of your time, I hand over the mic to respected Principal Madam Dr. Savita Bhagat to welcome our Chief Guest, Sri Shiv Raman Gaurji. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ankita. Thank you so much for your kind words. Good afternoon and namaskar to one and all. To those whom we can see and interact with in this meeting platform, and to those who are seeing and listening to us on Facebook Live, but we don't know who and how many. I extend a very warm welcome to all. As you know, we are here to attend today a webinar on women empowerment and gender sensitivity, need and issues in the series of webinars which started from 13th of this month. An attempt has been made while choosing the topics that topics should be of general interest and should enhance our understanding of the issue at hand. Our chief guest for this webinar, Dr. Shiv Raman Gaur, a former IAS officer, is presently Director Higher Education with DAV College Managing Committee, New Delhi. He is looking after the overall affairs of more than 77 colleges and a university. Over a long span of 40 years, he served Government of Haryana and Government of India in different prestigious positions and has therefore a rich and varied administrative experience. He served the Government of Haryana as Additional Principal Secretary to Chief Minister during 2011 to 2014, as Financial Commissioner and as Principal Secretary Medical Education and Research Department in 2012 to 2014. During 2014 to 2019, he was State Information Commissioner looking after RTI cases in the state. He is a gold medalist in law from Punjab University, Chandigarh. He has represented State of Haryana and Government of India in various national and international forums, including the United Nations. He has been a keen sports person and state yoga champion. He has been president and vice president of various sports bodies at national and international level. And above all, the quality which endears him to all is his poetic sensibilities. Our chief guest today, a unique combination of sterling qualities of head and heart, has authored books of poetry, and students have done research on the books he has authored. A very warm welcome to you, sir. We are obliged to you. You have boosted our confidence morale by agreeing to be our chief guest for the day, for giving your blessings and showing us the way. It is also my proud privilege to introduce our keynote speaker of the day, Dr. Ranjana Agarwal, Director CSIR, National Institute of Science, Technology and Development Studies. This prestigious institute is devoted to the study of various aspects of interaction among science, society, and state. Ma'am, it's a matter of great pride for all of us that you were appointed as the director of this prestigious institute by our worthy Prime Minister.
Thank you.
Who is the president of this vital and prestigious body. Dr. Ranjana is PhD in chemistry and her area is professor in Study Center, Kurukshetra University. For many training or getting PhD degree is the ultimate stop there, and did her postdoctoral degree in 95. Another position as postdoctoral was at Italy between 98 to 99. Again, another stint at Cambridge University between 2003 and 2004. And she was visiting professor at Trinity College, Dublin, the capital city of Ireland in 2012-13. She has got many awards and recognitions for her path-breaking research. Dr. Basudev Banerjee Memorial Award for the year 2014 by the Chemical Society, Kolkata. Professor S. Katiyar Endowment Award by Indian Science Congress in 2015. Commonwealth Fellowship in Dr. J.B. Spencer's group at Cambridge University, 2083 research papers. Her research can score which prove the useful research. She has completed many major research projects with DST, Department of Science and Technology, UGC, CSIR, and other prestigious bodies. She is not only working with reputed bodies and top-notch professors, but also she is working in a big way to promote science among school and college students. As she has a heart of gold, gender sensitization and skill development among rural women and girls are her other passions. I welcome you from the core of my heart, ma'am. Thank you so much for sparing your time for us this afternoon. Coming to the topic of today's deliberations, many people who are away from the reality start commenting that और अभी कितनी empowerment चाहिए इन औरतों को. The issue is very close to my heart. So I would like to make my submission that by only looking at women like Professor Ranjana, who has been able to break the glass ceiling, we cannot reach our conclusion that the task is complete. And there is no need of talking about women empowerment and gender sensitivity. Because women in leadership positions are very few. Most of them remain stuck either at the bottom of the pyramid or at the most reach middle level positions in jobs. Very few are in commanding positions. This is well-researched fact and not my guesstimate. But when they reach the top, they do make substantial difference, as has been recently published in the Harvard Business Review, that countries which are ruled by women have shown better results in managing COVID-19 situation. Women leaders of countries like Germany, New Zealand, Taiwan, Finland, Denmark have shown very impressive results in managing COVID-19. But these are only 18 countries which have women leaders, and that makes only 7% of all the countries. So, dear audience, there is an urgent need of a large group of women to move upward in positions to make the environment gender friendly and motivating for other women to come up in life. There are issues at the top and there are issues at the bottom also for women. You must have heard thousands of times during this COVID-19, stay home, stay safe. But how many of us know that crimes against women and girl child have increased many times when they are staying at home? So imagine, even home is not safe for many women and girls. Again, not my guess, but data from various quarters and researches are pointing out. Unpaid work women have been doing since ages, and only during COVID-19, when men had to stay home, they have realized the enormous work which women do and for which there is no payment. Very pertinent statement I read somewhere from a Western country, that when a male professor is asked what kind of help he needs to progress in professional life, he asks for research assistants. And a women professor is asked, she says that she needs assistance for managing her household chores. So in nutshell, economically, socially, politically, and culturally, women have not got their due share. And about gender sensitivity, I'm always reminded of a flower, which is touch me not. So sensitive, कि touch करते ही बंद हो जाता है फूल. That should be our level of sensitivity when we talk about gender issues, whether men, women, or other genders also. No stereotyping and preconceived notions of gender. All should share the warmth of the sun equally. There are many layers to this topic. If I talk, I can keep on talking. But today we are here to take blessings from our chief guest and to listen to his views on the issue, and the keynote speaker who is an expert in the area. So without taking much of your time, I now request the chief guest of the day, Dr. Shiv Raman Gaurji, to give his blessings and share his views on the issue with us and enlighten us further with his words of wisdom. Over to you, sir, if you are here. God, sir, I invite you to share your views and give us your blessings.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, yes.
It's a proud privilege to be joining the webinar meeting on a very, very sensitive and a very, very important issue of women empowerment. And I also welcome the keynote speaker, the illustrious Dr. Indina Agarwal, and her achievements were enlisted by our principal. And also I will appreciate the initiative taken by Dr. Savita Bhagat for an issue which is of paramount importance, and it will continue to be so for at least 3 to 4 decades to come. It is a matter of great pride also that as far as women education is concerned, DAV institutions have always been in the forefront. If I mention 4 names who have really contributed to the women empowerment and women upliftment in the modern Indian society, I find Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Swami Dayanand Saraswati, Mahatma Hans Rai. These last 2 are the people who have really made the movement of DAV education spread all over the country and even abroad. I feel that this issue of women empowerment should not be a dear subject and close to the heart of the women. It should also land somewhere in the mind and heart of the men. And if I look back, I am a student of literature and law both. When we were students as postgraduates in English literature university, we used to have very close debates on man, woman, you see, position and their powers. You see, Shakespeare, if you refer to Shakespeare, there's a famous line in one of his dramas where he says, "Frailty, thy name is woman." And you see, on that issue only, we used to have very hot discussions with the institute. The men usually would favor the men, and women usually would favor the women. But anyhow, many times the debate would end on a very clear note. Although they are not equal genders, but they are different genders. And this difference must be respected by each and all. And then later on, when I was reading Alfred Tennyson, he also was a late Victorian poet and early Victorian poet. A very famous line of his in one of his poems is "Men for the plough, women for the hearth leave." Men for the plough and women for their hearth be, and God is in heaven, all is well with the world. You see, he was clearly thinking of men doing the hard work in the fields, in the factories, in the outward areas. And women are basically in the domestic environment. Hearth कहते हैं चूल्हे को. They are in charge of the kitchen and they are meant for fertility and sustenance of the family as such. But anyhow, these roles now are, as you all know, changing. If you look at the women's suffrage, the right to vote in the elections, I was surprised that the voice for women's suffrage started in the last decade of the 19th century and in the early decade of 20th century. There was an international organization for women's suffrage established in Germany. And we find that women's suffrage, although some colonies of Britain and other countries got some women's suffrage right to vote, like Isle of Man and some British colonies. But later on, surprisingly, you see Canada got 1917, Britain and Germany 1918, Austria, New Zealand 1919, USA 1920. These countries gave right to vote in 20th century, first or second decade. And then in that historical chronology of events, if I go back, I find France as late as 1940, late as 1952, Switzerland 1971, Saudi Arabia naturally 2015. Majority of other countries got and gave women's suffrage the right to vote on their independence, including India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and other countries. So it is basically a bare fact now, historical fact, that historically speaking, in modern times, the women have not been equated and they have not been even treated and they have not been even considered as capable of maintaining themselves, sustaining themselves, taking decisions by themselves, and even right to vote was denied to them. But when the First World War, you see, happened, then the national leaders and other people who were the thinkers and philosophers, they realized that the women contribution in First World War was no mean, and it was not in any way inferior to men. because they found that they were handling the ammunition factories very well. And they were not afraid at all. They were very brave. And particularly in the nursing areas, they were really with the soldiers all the time, devoting with a lot of affection, care, and love. So then they realized that, you see, the suffrage, the right to equality with men, cannot further be denied to them. And that is why we find that after the World War, first many countries gave universal rights to the women. Particularly, you find that if you go back to the history of India, ancient India, I was surprised to find that up to the Vedic times, the women were having more importance than men. And you will find that many scholars and many, Vedic scholars, and there was a category of Vidyavadini and Upadhyani who were well versed in the Vedas. They used to write verses for the Vedas. And they were treated and treated very well in the society. They were never looked upon down, never maltreated. And they were given equal rights and status, particularly in the rituals. And the yagnas were performed. Without them, the yagna was not complete. So, the whole thing started, according to my appreciation of history, that the polygamy was allowed to the men. Men were allowed to marry more than one wife. So from this onwards, you see, the position of the women started deteriorating. Other women came and then there was a clash, and then you see all sorts of problems. And the prominent figures that come to my mind for for ancient India, the position of women, you can very well imagine. They were prominent scholars and writers and even poets. Ghosha, Apala, Takshiman, Kathi, Valapi, Bhavishi, Sulabha, Gargi, Maitri, Romasha. They were all women of letters, and they were really respected. There are debates in Upanishad, you see, with Gargi and Maitri, who was the wife of Yagyaval. See, there's a video also which is available on YouTube, where there's a hot discussion on very important issues of life and God and the conduct of man and woman. And then the views of lady scholar is really very, very fascinating and very interesting and very, very knowledgeable also. Yagyaval had to accept the scholarship and intelligence of the scholars for speaking before her. In the current scenario, the topic is need and sensitivity. In spite of all this, you find that there is a change in the Indian society as elsewhere. The women have started getting their rights. They have started asserting themselves. And they have started, breaking the male bastions one after the other. And then they have started taking their own decisions. Empowerment basically means allowing women to make a life-determining decision themselves and equipping them so that they are able to solve their problems. And the main agent of change is and will always remain the literacy for the women. If the women are literate, they will act as agents of change in the society. And for that matter, you see, if you find there's a women education that is particularly in urban areas, you will find day after day, result after result, year after year, the girls are outshining the boys. Their pass percentage is higher, the merit number is higher. They are really doing so well, even civil service examinations. In our times, there were lesser women in 1978, 79, 80. But later on, I find in the list of civil service examination and other examinations, more and more women are really doing so well and coming up in top positions. And there are some times when the women are topping the exams. Even in IITs, really women are so doing well. And in very uncommon field like, for example, Kalpana Chawla from Haryana was an astronaut who unfortunately died during the expedition to the moon. So I mean to say that there is a change. Things are not the same elsewhere they used to be, when women were treated as just chattel, property. Sometimes they are equated with some sort of some shoe like they are like shoes. Very it's a shameful thing. But anyhow, that situation is changing now, and there's a transition. But still, a lot of things are to be done. We are trying, and we are trying very hard as a nation. There's no doubt. For example, abolition of Sati Pratha, the Dowry Act, and changes in the CRPC, in the Evidence Act, and subsequently in 2013, the land laws have changed. The women have been given now equal share as sons in the ancestral properties of their family. It's a very great step. But there are, you see, on ground reality, if you look at the ground, Dr. K.C. Mandal, who was a scholarly professor of Vidyasagar University in West Bengal, he has written a number of articles on women empowerment. And he talks of 5 types of freedom. And I was impressed by his writings. He says social, educational, economic, political, and psychological. These are the 5 types of empowerment which can happen, which must happen for the upliftment of, you see, the women empowerment in this condition in society. He says that in spite of everything, in spite of our boasting in the parliament, and in spite of everything, a lot of good articles, great films, you see, and public forum speeches. The ground reality in the villages, interiors of India, even in urban areas, we find that great incidents of honor killings, rapes, and atrocities on women. Even in the interior village of Bihar and other places, women are still called witches and they are persecuted, stoned, and all sorts of, you see, inhuman treatment are meted out to them. As the doctor principal Savita Bhagat was talking that in stay home, and how can we still basically be assured that women are not subject of torture, even if they are at home? No doubt, there are many incidents that are occurring, and newspapers are full of such, you see, incidents and stories. Sometimes we are put to shame, Nirbhaya case, and other cases. So, what is the key now? What is the way out? we have the laws, we see changes all around. We see that we are entering into a new phase. We find more and more women are coming out. More and more women are in parliament. More and more women are in top position. More and more women are coming as CEOs of the large firms. And you see, we are not far behind as compared to Western countries as well as women occupying positions on the boards of companies. And very few areas remain where women are not coming forward. Latest Supreme Court ruling that they are to be commissioned in the army, permanent commission in the army. But I find that there is some gap still. The men, by their attitude, are a little reluctant, I find, to accept this new woman. I'm reminded of Thomas Hardy when he wrote two very beautiful novels, The Test of the D'Urbervilles and Thomas, this Jude the Obscure, I think. He talks of a Sue Brighthead, a character. She's a new woman, later Victorian era. She fights for her rights, and the men frown at it. They are not taking it lightly. So there's a struggle, continuous struggle. So what is the way out? Way out, I think, in the systematic and a sustained campaign for education of the girl child, number one. And there should be a sustained campaign for the attitudinal change in the mindset of the males. There should be concrete syllabi in the universities and schools, and there should be through audio, video, arts and performances, debate in the society, in the colleges, where men are encouraged to speak for women empowerment. I am reminded of a very interesting incident in my life when I was working as a sub-divisional magistrate in Dover Valley, Haryana, on the border of Punjab. After the death of Indira Gandhi, there was elections to Parliament. I was the returning officer, assistant returning officer for one of the constituencies. When the votes were counted, from one counting table, the officer in charge brought a vote before me. That was the time when you used to handle the whole election procedure manually. The EVMs were not there. He said, "Sir, this is a contested vote. The other party says that it should be rejected. Now you give your order, judgment." I looked at the vote. Before the symbol of hand, there were 23, you see, stamps, that voting stamp, 23 times. I counted. I was surprised. I noted the vote number, though it was not correct, just to know about who is this person who was stamped 23 times. And it was a vote for the Congress. I allowed it as a vote for the Congress. And the counting continued, and the Congress candidate won from Sirsa parliamentary constituency. But I asked my ARO to go and check who is this voter. Unofficially, they checked that this is an old woman of about 78 or 80 years. And she has stamped that vote 23 times because Indira Gandhi was shot and had bullets 23 in her body. And that family was a BJP family. Only one vote from that family has voted for Congress. That I realized that things will change in future. Women will start voting differently as compared to their men folk. If that happens, which is happening more and more now, I think Indian democracy will have strong roots and will survive. So my feeling is that the girl child should be educated, given opportunities, and the men folk in the society must change their attitude toward the girl child. The craving for the male child basically should be discouraged by policies, and the women child should be given a proper opportunity in the society. They are concerned that the women are insecure, they are taken as symbol of honor, there's insecurity in society, women's safety is one issue, and but I would request the media also to publish and to basically show on their channel those news and incidents where men have really helped the women to come over and tide over bad situation. Then only it will give confidence to both men and women as such. So confidence building measures basically for the women child, for the girl child is the first target of the parents, particularly mothers and the teachers. They say when we were in schools, औरत की सबसे बड़ी दुश्मन औरत है. वैसे उतनी बात अब तो नहीं कही जा सकती, लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं इसमें ट्रुथ है. तो मेल चाइल्ड की जो क्रेविंग है वो रहती है, उसको थोड़ा खत्म करना चाहिए. I basically now congratulate all of you and Dr. Savita Bhagat, Ranjana ji for organizing such a beautiful webinar, and it will serve the purpose. My sincere thanks to the organizers and good wishes to every participant who is either on Facebook or on this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. From today's session of yours, we have learned few things like women should be self-reliant. They should be allowed to take their own decisions. As women work as change agent of the world. So to summarize, I think I can circle within her is the power to create, to nurture and transform. I repeat, a woman is the full circle. Within her is the power to create, nurture and transform. Now I invite convener of today's webinar, Dr. Ruchi Malhotra, to welcome our keynote speaker.
Am I audible, Ankita?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, everybody, and namaskar to everyone. So today we have organized a national webinar on gender issues and women empowerment. And this initiative has been taken by Dr. Savita Bhagat. And I would take this opportunity for welcoming Dr. Ranjana Agarwal, whose profile is nothing to be said and nothing to be explained. She needs no introduction. She is an institution in herself. She has worked in several issues of gender sensitivity and women empowerment. And as Savita Bhagat ma'am has already highlighted her achievements and her opportunities, I would just say that realization of development is not possible without equality between men and women. As so much as this gender equality is the fifth sustainable goal of United Nations. This can be achieved only by women empowerment. Gender equality is very important in current and present scenario. In this scenario of pandemic, as has been highlighted by Shivraman Gaurji and our Dr. Savita Bhagat ma'am, because in this pandemic situation, the issues like gender sensitivity and women empowerment often get ignored, which are of paramount importance. Not taking much of your time, Dr. Ranjana, I would invite you to throw some light on this very sensitive and important topic. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ruchi. Respected Shri Shivraman Gaurji, Director Higher Education, DAV CMC New Delhi, Principal Dr. Savita Bhagat, all the participants who are present here. It's a matter of great pleasure for me to be here among the, young academicians and students. I would like to thank Dr. Savita Bhagat for giving me an opportunity to be here. I remember the days when we had a few workshops together in Kurukshetra University. When Dr. Savita Bhagat was telling about my, she was reading my profile. So, one must be wondering, I'm a chemist and what I'm doing here and talking about gender sensitivity. I think this was one of the program by University Grants Commission, Capacity Building of Women Managers in Higher Education. I think that was such a wonderful program, as just Shri Shivraman Gaurji talked about. Like, there should be policies, there should be opportunities for women to have the networking and become gender sensitized. Sometimes what we feel like being women itself is enough to talk about gender issues. Gender equality or gender issues are not just related to women. These are the issues which touch everybody in the society. These are basically the human rights issues. So just being women does not mean that a woman is gender sensitized. So it's a very sensitive area. And this UGC capacity building program, Pan India brought different women from different areas, irrespective of the domains, whether this is social sciences or commerce or humanities, so there was amalgamation of, the knowledge together, and the women themselves could celebrate and see like how they have overcome all the, impediments and achieved heights in their profiles, and how they can learn from each other. So I would like to thank Dr. Bhagat again, and I would like to congratulate her for organizing this webinar. You have touched so many points, and Shivraman Gaurji also, a very comprehensive view he has provided. But I think these are the issues which has to be talked repeatedly, because we tend to forget many things which happen in our society, and we don't talk about them unless we are, directly concerned. Only then we talk about that. So I would like to share my slides, if that's okay with you. I will go to just a minute. Is it visible?
No, not now. Abhi nahi. We are not able to see.
You're not able to see? Okay. I'm sharing it. Can you ask somebody to help me out?
Yeah.
Actually, you just
I went to share.
Share screen.
Share screen.
And click on.
Excuse me. Yeah, I'm on the. Yes, it's there.
Yeah, it's now click on screen.
Okay.
Screen.
Is it coming now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, great. So, is the slide is Swami Vivekananda?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So I would like to, start with a quote by the, youth icon Swami Vivekananda, where he says there is no chance for the welfare of the society unless the condition of women is improved. It is not possible for a bird to fly on only one wing. So howsoever developed country it becomes, how much science and technology advancements we achieve, but if in the society women is not given her due, that society cannot be said as a developed society. And in a very nice simple words he say it is not possible for a bird to fly on only one wing. तो अगर पक्षी को प्रवास चाहिए तो उसके दोनों पंखों में जान होनी बहुत जरूरी है. Only then it is possible. And that's why when I start with gender equity or equality or gender empowerment, my focus always is that it should be she is equal to he. There is no point talking about who is better. Women are better than men, girls are outperforming boys, or boys are outperforming girls. So I think if we leave all the issues aside and if we talk about she is equal to he and sensitize ourselves towards gender, so that will be the biggest thing to achieve. And as Shri Shivramanji also said, that the women equality is nothing, it's women empowerment. And what is basically women empowerment? When she is given the choice to take decision for herself, I think that is the epitome of gender empowerment. I would like to narrate a small story, I think, because there are certain students also, the students always try to correlate with themselves with the stories. So the story goes like this. There was a king called Harshvardhana. So he was into a battle with the neighboring kingdom and he lost the battle. So the neighboring king ordered the death sentence. So at the time of death sentence, he looked at the Harshvardhana and he said, he's such a young king. He wanted to, he was like very merciful towards him. So he said, okay, I give you one option. In a year, you give me answer of one of the questions and I will pardon you. So the question was, what does a woman want? So in 1 year, you find the answer to this question and come to me. And if I am satisfied with this answer, I will pardon you. You will be again king of your kingdom. So he came to his kingdom and he started looking for the answer. So he went to so many people. And like somebody says, the women want a good house, a bungalow, good jewelry, clothes, children, all kind of things people said. But he was somehow not happy with the answer. So he has one friend named Siddharaj. Siddharaj said there is one witch who lives outside the kingdom in a forest. She is very intelligent, very clever. But the thing is, she asks for a very heavy fee. But we should go and ask for the answer because the 1 year is going to end soon. So both of them goes to that witch. The witch says, okay, I will give you the answer, but the condition is your friend, that means Siddharaj, has to marry me. Now that witch was very, all adjective we use for good women, bad women. She was ugly, old, and all those adjectives you can put in. So Harshvardhana said, I cannot put my friend into this situation. I am happy to die rather than agreeing for this condition. But the Siddharaj said, no, for me, the nation comes first. And if I marry this woman and my king get the life, I'm ready for that. So he agrees. So the witch says, the answer to your question is, what does a woman want? A woman wants to take her own decision. So king was very happy, Siddharaj was very, very happy. So they go back and tell the other king that जो औरत है वो अपने फैसले खुद लेना चाहती है, ये उसका desire है, ultimate desire. King was very, very happy with the answer and he pardons him. So he comes back and Siddharaj, as per his terms and conditions, he marries the witch. So the marriage happens in the daylight in front of everyone in the public. So in the night, when he goes to his room to meet his wife, he sees a very beautiful woman sitting on the bed. हैरान परेशान कि उसने तो एक चुड़ैल से शादी की थी और यहाँ पे एक बहुत खूबसूरत महिला बैठी हुई है. So he gets disturbed, like what's happening? So he asks the woman, like, so she says, I'm the same witch, but I have a curse that in the daytime I become old witch, and in the night I become a beautiful woman. So now, because you are my husband, you can choose whether I should stay beautiful in the daytime or beautiful in the night. Because I have this thing, I can choose day or night. So you tell me as my husband, what do you want? So Siddharth says, it's your wish. I have married you publicly, so it does not matter to me whether you are beautiful in the daytime or in the night time. It's your wish, whatever you say. And then she says, because you give me freedom to choose, I will be beautiful for 24 hours. So, that's empowerment. Just give women the choice to choose for herself. Because, at this time when we start saying women should work, why should she work if she doesn't want to? She should wear particular kind of clothes. Why should she wear particular kind of clothes? Let her wear whatever she wants to. Let her study whatever discipline she wants to. Let her choose the profession she wants to. Let her be homemaker if she wants to. So if we give her choice, whatever she wants to do, I think that is the biggest empowerment what a woman can get. So briefly talking about sex and gender, because I come from scientific background, chemistry. So many times we use these two terms, sex versus gender, sex and gender, as synonyms. But we have to understand a little difference between these two terms. Sex is a biological term. We all are made up of, if we go by the chemistry point of view, we all are made up of the same elements, whether it is carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, or nucleic acids, or fatty acids, or proteins. So basically, men and women are constituently same. The only difference which arises is because of the chromosomal arrangements. Women is XX and men is XY. And even if I compare XX and XY, the difference between XY chromosomes is less than 0.01%. So, it is only the arrangement of few nucleic acids which make us different, men and women. And these are the only hormones, and nature has so beautifully carved out those hormones to make two entities which are complementary to each other, which can create new life, male and female. Because of the only hormonal arrangements, we are different from each other. And the nature has assigned us the job that women has to procreate life. She has to, hello? Is it? Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Okay. Okay. So, and gender on the other hand does not have any scientific logic into it. It's a social construct, and it differs from place to place, time to time. If you think of, some of the very common features which we today assign to a female or women characteristic, for example, let's say high heels. Whenever we talk of high heels, stilettos, we think of a woman wearing it. But if you go back and see it historically, it was basically the men who was wearing the heels because he was going for horse riding. So people who were on horse riding, they were wearing the high heels to make it comfortable. But the thing is, as their heels keeps on decreasing, the women heel kept on increasing. So it is a gender thing. It keeps on changing. Similarly, pink and blue color associated with men and women. Blue is for males, pink is for female. But again, if you go back and see the history, pink was the color for men and blue was the color for women. So gender keeps on changing while the sex is predominantly fixed, because we have certain kind of anomalies, and different things can also there. We can have XXY, XYY, that kind of chromosomes, but that's limited. But broadly categorizing, it's male versus female. So, as per that gender stereotyping, society starts creating, defining roles for women and men. For women, I have listed certain roles we all know. And some of the roles, if you think of, particularly if I talk in Indian context, where the family is the most important pillar of our society. So women was assigned these roles. And as I earlier said, because women procreates life, she has been given those hormones which are, having compassion and love and sympathy. And men, on the other hand, was like, as protector of the family, the hormones are like testosterone and androsterone. These are the hormones which give some like vigor and power to protect the family. So the balance was very nice. Nature was not, discriminating between men and women. Both were given different special features, special characteristics, because they have to nurture life. But, it is our socializing, our gender stereotyping, our patriarchal, mindset, which made us to fix these roles for women and men. And, once we start fixing the roles, the problem starts only from there itself. And when we say of, fixing the roles, sometimes we feel that it's only the problem of Indian society. Had it been the problem of Indian society, then there was no issue for UN to create, when they were doing sustainable development goals. The one whole goal was dedicated to women, goal 5. But that's not a standalone goal when we think of. All across those goals, women is of paramount importance. Whether this is hunger, whether this is education, whether this is climate, whether this is healthcare, women comes everywhere. But even then, one dedicated SDG has been given to women equality. So it is not the problem of only East. West is also having the similar kind of stereotyping. I just picked up one American rhyme which I found interesting. First comes love, then comes marriage, then comes name with a baby carriage. I wish you love, I wish you joy, I wish you first a baby boy. And when his hair begins to curl, I wish you then a baby girl. So, the dream of having a boy, baby boy, is cut across the countries. So this is stereotyping everywhere. And from the very beginning, from the childhood, the kind of stories we start telling to our children, how a baby boy becomes a man with a particular kind of, particular stereotype mindset. And similarly, how a girl imbibes all those qualities, that how and why she should behave in this particular manner, how she imbibes that. Because from the very childhood, we start telling them, directly or indirectly, we start giving them values. You look at the stories we teach them, Raja hai, Rajkumari hai, Rajkumar hai, Cinderella ki kahani aap dekh lijiye, all kind of stories, in the end, a prince will come and will save the princess. So that kind of thing we start telling our children from the very childhood. Sometimes people say like girls love playing with dolls and boys with cars. But if we just like introspect, how many times I have gone to a toy shop picking up a racing car for a girl. I don't give girls that chance to play with a girl, with the racing cars. And so, the stereotyping is such that she looks at her mother dressing up in the morning, putting up bindi and all those things. So she gets attracted towards that. And the father is dressing up in a different manner. So that's how children pick up the stereotyping unconsciously. So from the very childhood, we start working on these simple facts which we can do that. Shiv Raman Gaurji has very beautifully talked about the Vedic period, that how women, what was the status of women in India. And no doubt we were much, much ahead as compared to Western world. He talked about many, women who were philosophers, who were thinkers, who were scholars, who were performing ritual rites, everything. Not even that, they were even doing science. If you talk of Leelavati, she was daughter of Bhaskaracharya too. So she was such a good mathematician. She and her father, they both were like, there is a whole document, Leelavati, where they are talking about mathematics. So women were given the due status. Here again, I would like to cite a fact which will substantiate what we are saying, me and Shiv Ramanji. We have seen the Saptarishi constellation in the sky. I think the people who are from my generation must have noticed that in the Saptarishi, because we used to sleep outside on the roofs in the summertime. You know, in that Saptarishi, there are, it's a constellation of 7 stars, 4 stars in a rectangle, and then 3 stars in the tail. The second star in the tail is not a single star, it's a twin star. So, still we call it a 7 star constellation, not 8 stars, which could have easily been said, because हमारे पास ऋषियों की तो कोई कमी नहीं थी, तो सप्त ऋषि की बजाय अष्ट ऋषि हो सकते थे. But that, you know, twin star was named Arundhati Vashisht. Arundhati was Maharishi, and Arundhati was Maharishi Vashisht's wife. And why they kept this name Arundhati Vashisht? You know, in our constellations, all these stellar bodies, one revolve around each other. Revolve around one another. For example, Earth revolves around Sun, Moon revolves around Earth. But if you look at these two stars revolve around each other. So, if I, you know, comprehend the whole story, Indian science was so strong that time when we didn't have even telescope, the Western world didn't have the telescope. Indian saints have that kind of scientific accomplishment that they could tell that it's not a single star, it's a 2 star, and how they are moving, that they also could observe. And they put this as husband and wife in the present terms. If you look at, this is Alcor Mizar, these 2 stars. So that means at that time, husband and wife were so important, though they were so equal, that they were given the name of 2 stars, and the role was also defined that neither wife should dominate nor husband should dominate. So that was the equivalence. And to go a step further, they correlated with spirituality also, because if you go to South, after the wedding, there is one ceremony when bride and groom are asked to look at that star. Tara Darshan जिसको वो बोलते हैं, एक ceremony है उनका. So in that star also they tell the couple, newlywed couple, that how should husband and wife, you know, act in their married life. So that was the Vedic period when we were at the height. Then coming to the Manu Smriti, I think that is the period when people believe that the deterioration started at that point of time. Because after the Manu Smriti, there was code of, there was certain code of conduct and principle that how should she behave. That when she is a little girl, she should obey her father, when married to husband, when old to her son. So these kind of things we study. But you know, Manu Smriti was not created by a single person. Again, many people were there and people started interpreting it in their own ways. But in Manu Smriti also, there are so many hymns which say that women should be respected. We all have heard this, Yat Naryaste Pujantu Ramante Tatra Devta. So, there also they कि जहाँ पे नारी की पूजा होती है, वहीं पे देवता निवास करते हैं. So Manu Smriti also says that. But anyway, we started deteriorating the position of women in the society. And then comes the Mughal period, or I can say the invasions, where the military invasions were there, whether they were cultural invasions. And you know, when these kind of invasions occur, female is taken as a reward. because when the military comes, when she is the softest target to hamper on. So that was the period. If you look from north to south, in north you will see the Parda Pratha and all those things, Sati Pratha. These were more prevalent in north because all our invasions were occurring from northwest. But if you go to south, you will never see a woman covering her head. So invasion period was very detrimental for women in India particularly, because this was the time when society wanted to protect their women and they put them behind the doors. And then comes the pre and post independence period. I will not go for the pre-independence period because Shiv Ramanji has talked about that how their importance was felt in the freedom struggle, and how the reformers, so many reformers, and even women reformers also play a very active role in strengthening the position of women in the society. And in post-independence time, the women in India, the role has changed tremendously. And yes, after the independence, now if I look at independence to this time, we can easily say that attitude of women towards their own potential has changed. Their capabilities and roles have changed. Education has opened new doors for women to play a significant role as men. Even the men mindset has changed. Today, every father thinks that her daughter should be economically independent before she gets married. She should be sent to the good schools, higher education, and she should be a professional. Women have transformed themselves from social, homebound, and relationship-dependent roles to occupational roles with job, career, and professional orientations. They are willing to take challenges and achieve results. Family has logically accepted the change, but still finds it difficult to redesign their roles. आज की तारीख में भी जो main issue है, women have started to take new positions, new roles, asking for her rights, but her the social constructed responsibilities, she is still having the liability of those. Family still expects that the cooking should be her part, looking after the family affairs should be her part, taking care of the children should be her part. So there is still a conflict, and that creates a kind of guilt in the women, that if she is becoming professional, is she becoming so selfish that she is ignoring her family? So family support is very, very important for women if she is coming here. So this is Durga, 8 bhujaon wala hai. So she is now doing multitasker. She's a multitasker where she is having all the responsibility, looking after the children, to the professionally, economically independent, but at the same time having time for herself. If you look at, she is having a dumbbell. Basically, she is also, looking for herself also. Even after all these things, if we look at the things, there is gender unequal representation all over the world. As per UN statistics, women own only 1% of the world's income, though they earn 10%. Child care, if we take into consideration, women do 70% of the world's work. Worldwide, women on average earn less than 30% less than men. These are the very simple examples, which we observe daily. But we just don't ignore, or we don't acknowledge them. Even if you go to any constructing site, you will see women bearing, heaps of building material on their heads, moving up and down continuously, are paid much less as compared to their male counterparts. Women are underrepresented in politics also, and that's why in India we are talking of 33% reservation in the parliament. At the moment, we have only 11% in Lok Sabha and 10.0% in Rajya Sabha, and this is world average is just 9%. So we are not in any way better than world average. When we talk about women inequality, Dr. Amartya Sen, the Nobel laureate economist, says that gender inequality, there are plural views of gender inequality. It's very difficult to define gender inequality in one terms. It is layered. Sometimes it is open, sometimes it is hidden. We don't realize it. It's there, but we just like don't see that. For example, he says mortality inequality. We say women constitute 50% of the world's population. It's not true. Women, after 1,000 men, there are only 991 women. And if we talk about Haryana and other states, we all know how the gender ratio was. Some of the districts were having gender ratio of 700 something after 1,000. So where those women are, we are losing them. So more than 100 million women from world have been missing, whether that is African countries or South Asian countries or the Western countries. So women are not getting enough chance to survive, though science says that in equal, given the equal circumstances, female fetus has more chances to survive. So even then we are lesser in number. So that means we must introspect whether this is the malnutrition, whether this is the poor health services, whether this is the honor killing. All these things are going on. So mortality inequality is there. Then natality inequality. We were saying it's a dream to have boys, but that dream has come true now by the intervention of science and technology. Now just by a simple ultrascan, one can find the sex of the fetus. And we all know how misused this technology was and how the government has to intervene to stop that. So natality inequality is there. Now basic facility inequality. Basic facility means which should be a right of anyone, whether male or female. If that is denied, that is basic facility inequality. We say right to education, but do we think that all the girls get a chance to go to the school? A girl need a good, after a particular stage, she needs a toilet for her biological needs. But there are schools where there are no toilets. The basic facilities are not there. So the maximum number of dropout takes place when the girl reaches to the puberty. Similarly, so many factors we can talk about here. Special opportunity inequality. She has gone to the school. Is she getting enough chances to go for the higher education? Are parents ready to take a risk to send her to school, to other city? People say like there are lesser number of girls in IITs. And why? Because they are not good in, science, technology, mathematics. ये लड़कियों का domain नहीं है, लड़कियों को humanities पढ़ना चाहिए. लेकिन अगर आप देखेंगे, if there is a boy and girl and parents has to afford the tuition fee or the coaching fee, the structure we have created, parents would like to pay for the boy rather than a girl. क्योंकि लड़की को तो दूसरे घर में जाना है, तो उसके ऊपर पैसा क्यों उनको खर्च करना? Similarly, professional inequality, ownership inequality, household inequality. Within the house, so many inequalities happen which even a girl does not realize. So these are 7 parameters which Amartya Sen says like a girl has to face so many inequalities. And to overcome these issues, all over the world, these issues have been realized, and several days have been created to raise these issues. One is the International Day, International Women's Day, March 8. We all celebrate that. This time it was I Am Generation Equality, realizing women's right for equal future. But I think this day was not enough. There is another day which is celebrated on February 16th. It is International Day for, female genital mutilation. Zero tolerance for female genital mutilation. It's a very common practice, particularly in Muslim countries, where you will not believe that the girls, their sex organs are mutilated between infancy and at the age of 15. So it is such a torturous act which is done on young girls. And you look at the number, Somalia, 98% girls undergo knife, Guinea 97, Gambia 56, Indonesia 50%. So this is another reason, and this is, as you can see, several health issues are related with this: cyst infection, infertility, as well as complications in the childbirth, increased risk of newborn deaths. Another day now, International Day of the Girl and Child. This is for October 11. This is for access to education, nutrition, legal rights, medical and protection for discrimination, violence, forced child marriage. So the theme 2020 is With Her, a Skilled Girl Force. And the most recent one is International Day of Women and Girls in Science, which is celebrated on February 11th. ये भी हमारे एजेंडा में, सस्टेनेबल गोल के एजेंडा में है, that there are very less women. There is gender inequality, particularly in science, technology, education, and maths. I have given the ratios here. You can see the girls are getting 1/3 chances to excel. And even if they are coming into the higher education, they are going for master's degree, PhD degree, but if we look at the professional level, they do not reach there. So the theme 2020 is Investment in Women and Girls in Science for Inclusive Green Growth. Another very important movement which started was He for She, UN Women's Solidarity Movement for Gender Equality. So it was realized in September 2014 that if women keep on trumpeting their rights like gender equality for themselves, it's not going to change. Men has to come into the picture. Men should stand for women's right, and that's why the campaign was He for She. And it's very interesting that this campaign got so much support that in just 3 days, 100,000 men joined the campaign. And I'm very happy when I see at the present scenario where I see more men are coming forward to talk about gender rights, to talk about gender equity. So about this gender inequality and law, Shri Shiv Raman ji has talked about. I would like to say a couple of things and then I will move forward. All these laws are in place. The only problem is how to get them implemented. So at some areas the government has to take action, but at some points society has to come forward, and at some points women themselves have to come forward to raise their voice. There are rules, there are laws, but generally either we don't know about those laws or we don't want to exercise those laws, because again the social constructs are there. For example, if you talk about the property rights, it's okay, like now the women, the daughter is equally eligible to have the 50% of the property, but you just go and check how many women opt for this option. They very willingly sign a document that they are not interested in parents' property, because their argument is, for me, my brother is more important. If he coming on the Bhaiya Dooj or Raksha Bandhan और मेरे यहाँ भात देने आ रहा है या मेरे यहाँ तीज पे आएगा, तो मुझे उस भाई की उस वक्त ज्यादा जरूरत है, ना कि मैं अपने parents की property में जाऊँ. So the women has been conditioned in this way, that if even she is taking her own right, but if she claims it, she feels it with a guilt. So she is not happy to take that. So laws are there, but we don't practice them. And then there are certain factors which are responsible for gender gaps. There can be structural factors, there can be cultural factors, there can be personal factors. Some of them I have mentioned here, but I think we have talked quite a lot about them, so I can move forward. So now the question comes, how to combat stereotypes and bias that borders on misogyny. You know, our attitudes are malleable. If we care enough to change them, we can bring gender equality. Know your facts, accept the challenge of your own bias. As I earlier said, we have biases, but we are not acquainted with that. Or even if we have, we don't accept that. I will always believe I am gender sensitive. But it's not true. I would like to quote a very simple, narration from my own experience. In science subjects, generally we have practical classes till 5 o'clock. So, I always believed science is very gender neutral. कुछ उसमें male female नहीं होना चाहिए, सब बराबर का काम करना चाहिए. So one day girl comes to me and says कि she wants to leave at 4 o'clock from the lab every day. I said, in a normal circumstances I would have said no. Boys and girls must work till 5 and then they should leave because you all are equal. And that was the case, I will say. To accept that, I will say कि मेरा भी gender sensitivity इतना ही था कि सबको बराबर काम करना चाहिए, सबको अभी भी हम यही बात करते हैं कि महिलाएं कम काम करती हैं, काम से जी चुराती हैं, घर जाने की बात करती है. ये बहुत कॉमन डिफेंस होता है जब भी आर्गुमेंट शुरू होता है. तो लेकिन अगर उसमें थोड़ा सा हम झांक के देखें, अंदर जाके देखें कि उनको वो सब क्यों चाहिए, उन सब के लिए वो क्यों कहती हैं, तो थोड़ा हमको समझ में आएगा. So then I asked that girl, कि why do you want to go early? That's the only thing I asked, कि why do you want to go early? तो उसने जो मुझे बताया और उससे मुझे realization हुआ कि हमको sensitive होना कितना जरूरी है. She said, Madam, I come from a village. The bus comes after 1 hour. If I go at 4 o'clock, I will get that bus and I will reach at 5 o'clock and reach home by 5:30. But if I go from the lab at 5 o'clock, even 5 o'clock bus I don't get. I get the 6 o'clock bus and I reach home around 7, post 7. And by that time it's dark and the whole village starts talking about me and my parents. So, that is a small thing. Then you realize like how much struggle a girl faced to come to the higher education. It is not equal. When we say कि उसको equal चीजें जब बात करते हैं equality की, so why women needs preference? So the conditions are not equal. A boy reaches home at 7 o'clock, nobody questions. But a girl reaches home at 7 o'clock after college or after university, society talks about them. So we must accept our, facts, accept the challenge of our own bias, and then start working on them. Address it when reflected in others. जब आप दूसरे में भी किसी में देखें कि उनमें जेंडर बायस है, but they are not able to recognize it and they start defending it, we must address that. Women, be prepared from a backlash from men every day. Every day is a new day for them. Do not play your womanhood card. Demand respect, be confident and proud of womanhood. This is for, all young girls. I would like to say, womanhood is not a thing to be, played upon, to be exploited, to demand respect. Rather, we should be confident and proud of our womanhood and work in such a manner that we command respect from others. Womanhood be your strength, not weakness. Sexism cannot be ironic, but because it is still massively prevalent, men still benefit from it, women are still hindered by it. So with these, I would like to, in the end, 3 slides. And these 3 slides are very important to me. I like those slides very much because they are breaking stereotypes. They are not denying womanhood. Because, sometimes when we climb the ladder, we have not seen many role models, women role models we have not seen. So we start emulating male as our role models and we start behaving in manly manner. And that's why I said we must respect our womanhood. And this, breaking stereotypes. 2 years ago, as Indian scientists successfully put a satellite into orbit around Mars, showed women dressed in gorgeous saris with flowers in their hair celebrating at the ISRO. I could have taken Mangalyaan, Chandrayaan, which is more recent, but I still love this picture because here the women, if you look at them, abhi sabhi Kanjivaram sari pehni hai. They are not trying to dress up like men, ki scientists and technocrats hai, ISRO mein kaam kar rahi hai, so it could have been a very simple and comfortable dress for them to go into a Western attire. But they are still having their own womanhood and they are enjoying that. This picture, like I really love this picture. Similarly, if you look at this one, this is INSV Tarini. This was all women crew. Again, almost a year back, May 21. So these women set out from Goa on a very small boat, circumvented the whole world and came back. It was not a leisure trip. It was a small boat traveling all across the oceans and coming back, collecting so much data. Again, when I said like there are less women in science and technology, so I would like to truly salute these women, these young women who were on this small boat. And when the captain was asked when they reached back, so they were asked question, so it was all women trip, so how did you feel? So their answer was that ocean is not gender biased. So we have the same difficulties as a men crew would have received it. So this is the one which shows that the women are capable of doing any kind of things, not the stereotyped. And the last one, this is Shivangi Pathak. She's from Haryana. She's 16-year-old girl from Haryana. Again, I picked from Haryana because, if you look at the national scenario, Haryana is projected in a very negative manner when it comes to women issues. क्योंकि हमारे खाप पंचायत को जोड़ के सब लोग देखते हैं, ऑनर किलिंग को देख के सब लोग जोड़ते हैं, इन्फेंटिसाइड को लेके, भ्रूण हत्या को लेके हरियाणा का एक बड़ा image जो है all over the country is not a very positive image. But when I show them this picture, that this is a 16-year-old girl, 16 ईयर में तो ये भी नहीं पता होता कि मुझको साइंस पढ़ना है कि मुझको ह्यूमैनिटीज पढ़ना है या मुझको पढ़ना भी है या नहीं. And this girl goes and wins Mount Everest. And salute to her parents also, who allowed her to go and in all adverse conditions. So with these words, I would like to stop with a quote. We have begun to raise our daughters more like our sons, but few have courage to raise our sons more like our daughters. क्योंकि अभी का जो सिनेरियो है, ये हमको जो हमारा सोशो कंटेक्स्ट चेंज हो रहा है, हमको इसके लिए बड़ा सजग होने की जरूरत है. हमने बेटियों को बेटों की तरह पालना शुरू कर दिया है. जब हम जेंडर इक्वालिटी की बात कर रहे हैं तो हमारा पूरा फोकस जो है गर्ल के ऊपर जा रहा है. तो हमने लड़कियों को पढ़ाना शुरू कर दिया है. अगर हम अपने आसपास की सब जगह देखेंगे, हम अपने एनवायरनमेंट में देखेंगे, आई थिंक आई विल गिव इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटी टू माय डॉटर. लेकिन बेटे को बेटी जैसे संस्कार देना वो भी बहुत जरूरी है. तो बॉयज के ऊपर भी फोकस करना, जब हम जेंडर इक्वालिटी की बात कर रहे हैं, we also focus on boys also. From the very childhood we start telling them that they must respect girls, how should they behave, they should contribute in household things. So these small gestures, if we start telling our sons from the very beginning, I think that will be the ideal stage when we'll achieve the gender equality. So thank you so very much. With these words I would like to close. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was very informative session. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was very informative, and I especially loved the slide of the multitasker female, in which female is doing so much of the work. So I can say one line for females. अपने कर्तव्यों संग नारी भर रही है अब उड़ान, ना है कोई शिकायत ना कोई थकान, यही है असली नारी की पहचान. Now I invite Dr. Ruchi Malhotra for question answer session. Over to you, ma'am.
Am I audible, Ankita ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Ma'am, this was a very enriching session. We have certain questions from our audiences, so I would like to take the questions. I would like to ask you certain
I will
questions
be
that
happy.
are, yeah. Ma'am, one of the questions that has cropped up in our chat box is that do you think that male and female are both responsible for gender inequality? What are your comments on that?
You know, it is something like that. आप कहने लगते हैं कि गरीबी का कारण गरीब है. When we start saying that women is against women, you know, it's a very simple statement कि मदर ही चाहती है कि मेरे यहाँ लड़का पैदा हो, सास बहू को दुखी करती है, तो हम ये बहुत सारी चीजें कहते हैं. But if you look into the situation holistically, you know, it is the gender stereotyping, patriarchal society that is so deep rooted in our mindset that even women starts believing कि अगर मेरे यहाँ लड़का पैदा हो जाएगा तो मेरी वैल्यू बढ़ जाएगी घर में. जो सास है उसको ऐसा लगता है कि जो लड़का है, जो बॉय है, because he is the commanding one, if he is under my control, my position in the house will be better. So I will, what you said कि women are responsible for inequality, in a way at the surface it seems so, but if we go to the root cause, it is basically the patriarchal mindset. जब हमारे मन से ये निकल जाएगा कि लड़का या लड़की, मतलब मैं तो कभी ये भी नहीं कहती हूँ, जब कोई कहता है कि मेरे लड़का क्यों पैदा हो गया, लड़की होती मेरी तो इच्छा ये थी, तो मैं कहती हूँ ये भी गलत है. You know, it is nature which has given us 2 boys or 2 girls or 1 boy or 1 girl. So when this difference will not be existing, I think that will be the true time, and then nobody will bother कि किसको दुखी करना है, किसको नहीं करना. So this is the patriarchal mindset basically, rather than women against putting women against women, because that gives a very different connotations to the whole discourse.
Ma'am, so in related to this question only, we have seen your slide regarding redesigning roles for women in the family. So how would you like families to work upon redesigning the roles in the family setup?
You know, redesigning the roles, some of the roles I said like the nature has given us, and they are very beautiful roles. Like for a mother to, for a woman to become mother is a fulfilling experience. But then saying that every woman has to become mother, that's not her choice. If that's not her choice, so why we are fixing that? So redesigning the role means when the child is born, when the you know, childbearing, rearing time is there, the mother has different roles to play, which the biological demands are there. But I think once the child is out of that phase where he can be nurtured both by father and mother, I think that time the role sharing can be there. Similarly, now in the present society, men is not the breadwinner. The women can also play that role very importantly. So at that point of time, can a man take the responsibility of household? Why cannot he? Why we always say a man cannot cry? This is again a gender stereotyping which has been put upon a man. आदमी अगर चाहे भी तो बेचारा वो नहीं कर पा रहा है क्योंकि उसके ऊपर प्रेशर दे दिया that a man has to be very strong, he has to be very powerful, all these kind of things. So these are the change we can do away with them very gently in a slow manner, क्योंकि abruptly कोई भी चीज करते हैं तो उसमें परेशानी होने लगती है. But these roles can be redefined. And in a way we are redefining. आज के तारीख में मुझे लगता है कि हम में से बहुत सारी women जो यहाँ पे बैठी हुई हैं, वो सब अब ये realize करती हैं कि जो हमारी mothers ने नहीं उनको support मिला, वो support हमको मिल रहा है. So I think men are also changing. In our success stories, men are equal partners with us.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am, for your insight. The next question is about multitasking. Yeah, am I audible, ma'am? Yeah.
Yes, you are.
The next question is about multitasking. We have seen a beautiful slide of yours on multitasking, showing women performing various tasks. But isn't this concept confusing ladies today? Because in literate societies, in high-end societies where women move out to work, so women empowerment is often misused. So women are like forced to work, forced to multitask. So what is your take on that?
You know, मैंने जो शुरू में बोला था कि it should be her choice, right? That is the ultimate, you know, goal what we should have. Even after doing PhD or whatever, if I don't want to work, maybe I don't want to work as professional, but I want to do some kind of social work or something else. So multitasking is not a bad thing. And women are in a way trained to handle so many things at one instance. So multitasking, I don't take it in a negative way. And particularly at present time when we can get support, so much support from the, you know, system, a good support system is also available. So as I said, Indian social fabric is very delicate. So sometimes when we talk of feminist, you know, total feministic view, I generally don't support that view in true sense, because you know some of the roles are defined. आप लोग में से अभी आज जितने लोग बैठे हुए हैं इस वेबिनार में, उन सबसे ये एक बार हम पूछ के देखें कि आपको कह दिया जाए कि आपको अपने बच्चों के लिए इमोशनल नहीं होना है, तो क्या कितनी विमेन इस चीज के लिए मान जाएंगी? यू स्टार्ट सेइंग कि आपको उस बच्चे का होमवर्क देखने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है, अपने आप कर लेगा जो भी करना है। आप में से कितनी मदर्स हैं जो इस चीज को मान लेंगी? आपके यहाँ कुक आती है लेकिन फिर भी यू जस्ट गो एंड सुपरवाइज लाइक व्हाट काइंड ऑफ फूड यू वांट टू गिव टू योर चिल्ड्रन, दैट गिव्स यू हैप्पीनेस, दैट गिव्स यू सेटिस्फैक्शन. So my take on this is like multitasking when women are going out to work, definitely they have created you know more challenges for themselves, but at the same time if the system is supportive, that's what we are talking about. The cultural factors, the structural factors, they should be enabling. They should be enabling for women to multitask with ease rather than burdening her 100% with the you know household things and the social responsibility and the maternal responsibilities. So if there is sharing, she can enjoy and professionally do well.
Archana ma'am has a question. Dr. Archana Bhatia, can you please unmute her mic if she is there? Yeah, ma'am, question.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Ma'am, firstly, I would like to congratulate. बहुत अच्छा आपने बताया gender sensitivity पे. मेरा मैम क्वेश्चन नहीं है, मेरी थोड़ी सी अपने व्यूज हैं जो मैं यहाँ पे प्लेटफॉर्म पे सबके साथ साझा करना चाहती हूँ, अगर रुचि मैम मुझे परमिट करें.
Sure, ma'am, anytime.
मैम मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि इंडिया को स्वतंत्र हुए भी बहुत साल हो गए और अब वुमेन को भी ज्यादा गवर्नमेंट की तरफ देखना, सोसाइटी की तरफ देखना बंद करना चाहिए. वुमेन को खुद कदम उठाना चाहिए पॉजिटिविटी के साथ, ऑप्टिमिज्म के साथ, कि वो इंडिविजुअली और कलेक्टिवली ग्रो कर सके. और हमारी जैसी वुमेन जो ऑलरेडी वेल एस्टेब्लिश्ड इन सोसाइटी में, उन्हें जरूर किसी कमजोर औरत का सहारा बनना चाहिए. मुझे लगता है इसी से मैम जो हम बातें करते हैं वो दूर होंगी. लॉ ने तो वैसे ही हमें फंडामेंटल राइट्स आदमी के बराबर दिए हुए हैं. लॉ की नजरों में औरत हो या आदमी हो, दोनों इक्वल हैं, दोनों को राइट है इंडिया में टू लिव विद डिग्निटी एंड रिस्पेक्ट. तो मुझे लगता है मैडम कहीं ना कहीं अब कलेक्टिवली लेडीज को ही पैर उठाना होगा, कदम उठाना होगा, तभी ये सिचुएशंस सुधरेंगी. वो एक कोई में कहा भी है अमिताभ बच्चन जी ने एक पिक्चर में कि तू खुद की खोज में निकल, तू किस लिए हताश है, तू चल तेरे वजूद की समय को भी तलाश है. तो मुझे लगता है मैम चलना चाहिए और अपनी मंजिल तक पहुंचना चाहिए. इसी के साथ जो जेंडर इनइक्वालिटी है, जेंडर सेंसिटिविटी है, वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट है, कई सारी चीजें ऑटोमेटिकली अचीव हो जाएंगी. थैंक यू मैम, थैंक्स लॉट.
थैंक यू अर्चना जी, आपके व्यूज बहुत सुंदर हैं. आपने सही कहा कि जो सक्षम महिलाएं हैं उनको सामने आना चाहिए और उन महिलाओं के लिए काम करना चाहिए जो अभी भी उस दायरे में नहीं आई है. ये बहुत अच्छी बात आपकी है. लेकिन आप जैसे कितनी महिलाएं हैं ऐसी जिनकी ऐसी सोच है, इसीलिए गवर्नमेंट लेवल पे पॉलिसीज होना बहुत जरूरी है. गवर्नमेंट को जरूर इन पॉलिसीज के तरफ देखना ही पड़ेगा, क्योंकि अगर आप हम बात कर रहे हैं तो हम एक बहुत छोटे सेगमेंट की बात कर रहे हैं जहां पे हमको लगता है कि महिला सशक्त हो गई है। हम गांव में जाके देखें कि महिला की स्थिति आज भी क्या है। गांव में भी क्यों जाएं, आप अपने बगल में भी देखेंगे तो आपको पता चलेगा कि महिला की स्थिति क्या है, कि वो अपना आवाज कितना उठा सकती है। अब गांवों में देखो, जो सरकार ने अभी कॉलेजेस खोले हैं, लड़कियों के कॉलेजेस खोले हैं हर 10 किलोमीटर के ऊपर। देखिए ये कितना बड़ा स्टेप है सरकार की तरफ से, क्योंकि सरकार भी इस बात को महसूस करती है कि एक लड़की को अगर ट्रैवल करके जाना पड़ता है शहर में पढ़ने के लिए, हर रोज एक चैलेंज वो करती है, हर रोज एक लड़ाई जीत के वो वापस आती है। आसान नहीं है। बस आप और मेरे जैसी उम्र की महिला भी जब आज की तारीख में बस में बैठ नहीं रही है, लेकिन अगर आप और मैं भी बस में बैठते हैं तो हमको भी कोहनी आज भी चुभती है। तो उन लड़कियों की तरफ हम देखें तो इसलिए मुझे लगता है एनेबलिंग पॉलिसीज बहुत जरूरी है। हमको ये बात नहीं सोचना भी नहीं है कि अब हमको और किसी की तरफ नहीं देखना। हम लोगों को हमारे राइट्स बहुत लेट मिले हैं, हमने दौड़ लेट शुरू की है, तो हमको सपोर्ट की जरूरत है। हमारी सब बेटियों को, हमारी सब बहनों को, हम सबको सपोर्ट की इनिशियली जरूरत है। और वही बात है कि एक बार जब आप जब आप एक लेवल पे भी पहुंच जाते हो, then you will realize so much politics is there, so much isolation is there. A woman doesn't want to take administrative position. तो हमारे लिए चैलेंजेस बहुत सारे हैं। जैसे मैं
लेकिन मैम जो अभी भी हमारे, वैसे तो मैम वुमेन से रिलेटेड फिनोमिना ग्लोबल है, सिर्फ इंडिया का प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, लेकिन इंडिया में मैं बात करना चाह रही हूँ जो हमारी जैसी शिक्षित महिलाएं हैं उनको जरूर उनके अंदर कुछ ऐसी जागृति आनी चाहिए और थोड़ी आशावादी दृष्टिकोण आना चाहिए। थोड़ा उनके अंदर ये सेंस डेवलप होनी चाहिए कि हम इस सोसाइटी में हैं, हमें अपनी नारी पक्ष को थोड़ा सा कैपेबल बनाने के लिए, उसको सिक्योर करने के लिए हम जो भी योगदान कर सकते हैं। किसी लड़की को पढ़ा सकते हैं,
देखिए ये तो बहुत हो रहा है आज की तारीख में। अगर आप देखें, सो मच वर्क इज गोइंग ऑन, चाहे वो इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे हो, आपका पंचायती लेवल पे हो रहा हो, आपका एनजीओस के माध्यम से हो रहा हो। आजकल तो अगर आप देखेंगे कि कुछ महिलाएं जो हाउसवाइफ्स हैं वो किटी पार्टीज वगैरह करती हैं, उन्होंने भी उसका रूप बदल दिया है कि हाउ दे कैन स्पॉन्सर गर्ल्स एजुकेशन एंड दोस काइंड ऑफ थिंग। आई थिंक दीज स्मॉल जेस्चर्स आर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। स्किल डेवलपमेंट के लिए बहुत काम हो रहा है। किसी को कढ़ाई सिलाई सिखा रहे हैं, किसी को कंप्यूटर सिखा रहे हैं, टैली सिखा रहे हैं। तो आई थिंक दीज आर स्मॉल जेस्चर्स व्हिच आर हेल्पिंग टू मेक द कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग ऑफ वुमेन।
Thank you, ma'am.
Very appreciable steps.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Ma'am, maybe Dr. Savita Bhagat wants to talk. Ma'am, am I audible, ma'am? Savita, ma'am?
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah, please.
Thank you so much, Ranjana ma'am.
Thank you, Savita ji.
An exhaustive lecture. मुझे याद है when we met you in this college, that was 2011. और आप कुरुक्षेत्र से आए मॉर्निंग में, यू स्टार्टेड एट 5:30 फॉर 11 o'clock maybe, and you are so committed, so sincere, so dedicated to your work. You didn't attend stay back for lunch that day because you had some other preoccupations in the university. I salute you, Ranjana ma'am. May your tribe increase. We need more women like you. मैं तब से ही आपको फॉलो करती हूँ, देखती हूँ, और आप जिस तरह से अपने प्रोफेशनल डेवलपमेंट के लिए आपने काम किया है, दैट्स ऑसम, दैट्स वंडरफुल। बहुत ही इम्प्रेसिव आपकी बात है सारी की सारी, और बड़ी एक्सपीरियंस से आई है। मैं शेयर कर रही थी अभी, ये सब लोग इसी बात को कर रहे हैं कि जेंडर स्टीरियोटाइप्स और हमारे माइंड की कंडीशनिंग कैसी होती है। आई एम वेरी सॉफ्ट पर्सन बेसिकली, सॉफ्ट टू स्पीक एंड पोलाइट ऑल्सो। For the last 1 month I have been given this responsibility, and from many quarters I am hearing this thing that your goodness is being taken as your weakness.
No, I don't buy this argument. No, you keep your you.
I know that. मेरी जो बेसिक पर्सनालिटी है वो फेमिनिन टच जो है मेरा, काइंडनेस का, पोलाइटनेस का, एम्पैथी का, that I don't want to lose, and I don't want to be bossy, and I don't want to be aggressive in this job. लेकिन लोगों को लग रहा है कि she can be taken for granted, but they'll have the taste of the pudding when they eat it, and
yes. So yeah, we can be assertive, we can be soft, we can be polite, these are our feminine qualities and we don't want to go away with these qualities. I always said like, I always enjoy my womanhood. So I want to keep those qualities, but at the same time, I can be assertive. At some point of time, people will realize that exerting power is not good.
Yeah.
So assertiveness is, I think, more than enough. We will achieve whatever we want to.
Power should not come from your position.
Yes, exactly.
And
So I'm very happy to see you as leading the organization. I'm very sure that under your leadership, the college will achieve new heights.
blessings, your good wishes always needed. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. My pleasure. It was my pleasure. Totally my pleasure. Thank you.
Chief, vote of thanks, formal vote of thanks.
Yeah, ma'am, last question I have that I want to take, that is of chat box, if you permit, ma'am.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, ma'am, this is that women wants to take their decision. We have talked about decision making in women, but is it practical? Because though there is reservation for women, but most of the decision are taken by their husbands. So one of the question is regarding this. Yeah.
मुझे लगता है कि बहुत बार हम विमेन अपना जो ओपिनियन है वो एक्सप्रेस भी नहीं करती. अगेन वो जो हमारा कंडीशनिंग है ना, हम आवाज हो सकता है दूसरा सुनने के लिए तैयार भी हो, हम ही सबसे पहले पूछ लेते हैं कि क्या खाओगे, क्या बनाएं, क्या रंग पहने. कभी हम अपने मन से भी कहें आज पीला रंग भी पहनना है, या आज मुझको ये फला सब्जी ही बनानी है, वेदर यू लाइक इट और नॉट. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि हम अपने छोटे छोटे, अगर हम बचपन से अपनी डॉटर्स को ट्रेन करें कि आपका ओपिनियन, हम बेटियों से भी पूछें जब भी कोई हम घर में डिसीजन ले रहे हैं, आस्क देयर ओपिनियन. एक्चुअली होता क्या है, हम जब भी उनका जो है ना कंडीशनिंग इस तरह का करते हैं कि लड़कियों से जनरली पूछा नहीं जाता घर में क्या हो, तो वो डिसीजन मेकिंग का पार्ट नहीं होते. अगर हम अपने डे टू डे अफेयर में बेटियों को भी कौन सी गाड़ी खरीदनी है, हम तुरंत लड़के को बोलते हैं. कौन सा फोन खरीदना है, लड़के को पूछते हैं. कौन सा लैपटॉप चाहिए, मतलब हस्बैंड डिसाइड करेंगे या सन डिसाइड करेगा. पुराने वाला मम्मी को दे दो, नए वाला तुम ले लो. तो मुझे लगता है कि अगर हम घर में ये छोटे छोटे एक्सरसाइज शुरू करें, अपनी बेटियों को भी पार्टिसिपेटिव बनाएं चीजों में. इसी तरह क्लासरूम सिचुएशन में इफ वी स्टार्ट गिविंग girls a bit more weightage because they are timid, particularly at the time of when our hormone change and the age of 11, the girls become very introvert. They are not confident about their body changes and all those kind of things, so they become introvert. They don't want to come out. So that stage is very important where teachers can like motivate them, like to bring them out. Similarly, in higher education, in your colleges where the students come from the villages, they don't have opportunity to speak out their opinion at home. But do we give them that opportunity at the workplace, at the educational organizations? So I think this is a practice which we have to adopt so that the girls also start asking questions, giving answers to those questions. So that's how they are not sure about their questions. कि मैं पूछूंगी तो क्या हो जाएगा, मैं अगर अपना कोई ओपिनियन बताऊंगी तो people will laugh at me. So decision making needs confidence. So if the girls imbibe that confidence, definitely she will express her views.
So ma'am, I suppose that we are through with the questions, and now formally I have to give vote of thanks.
Thank you.
So this is the thing I need to do, because this program is the very inception of our very loving and very considerate Dr. Savita Bhagat. I want to really thank her from the bottom of my heart, and I want her to give us more opportunities to explore ourselves, to explore our knowledge, and to listen from people like you. Now, just to summarize the program, just to summarize a little bit of things, we had started from Vedic period. I want to say that in India, we reflect upon Ardhanarishwar, Shiva, who was half Shiva and half Parvati, and that meant that he denoted construction and regeneration. So that was in Vedic times. In today's time, for women like us who go to colleges, I have a small little poem by Divya Datta. You must have heard of it, so I have a bit improvised it. तुमने कहा था हम एक ही हैं, बस अपने बराबर कर दो ना. बस यूं ही एक है करने से जिंदगी कहाँ चलती है। जब मैं कॉलेज जाती हूँ जरा तुम भी घर सवार दो ना, तुमने कहा था हम एक ही हैं, बस अपने बराबर कर दो ना। So, ma'am, women empowerment and gender sensitization, I suppose, has been highlighted and has been explained very well as a concept and as an application by you, Dr. Ranjana Agarwal, and by Shri Shivraman Gaurji to us. We are indebted from the bottom of our heart. And I really want to thank Dr. Archana Bhatia, who has encouraged us, who has helped us coordinate this program. I really want to thank Ms. Ankita for moderating this program so well. She has skillfully moderated this program. And I want to really thank our technical team, which includes Ms. Dr. Priya Kapoor, Mr. Dinesh, Ms. Ritu Sachdeva, and Mr. Pramod. And I'm sorry if I'm missing someone. And I'm really thankful to all the audiences, to all the people who have joined us on Facebook Live, and all the people who have participated in question answer session. Thank you so much, and regards. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. And goodbye and have a nice day. Thank you.